We said there's a second Bible.
We didn't say that. Did not say that.
That's the clip we gotta use too. Maybe there's a second Bible.
Well, welcome to the Tiny Podium.
Well, we're back with another episode, Tiny Podium. We're just gonna start with some interludes on the podcast, some preambles, if you will. Today we got Victor. He's gonna come on in a bit. We're gonna chat about some fun things. I got some topics, but I'm excited. Thank you so much for watching this thing, this Tiny Podium. And we haven't got a chance to chat, just you and I. So I thought we start with some chatting. And, our heart for this thing is to get real. It's to have some laughs, to have some cries. And, I'm not on the preaching team. They don't let me on there. So, this is my Tiny Podium. This is what it is. Try not to get too serious, but also let's get serious. This past weekend I was sick out of my mind. I still can't taste or smell anything. No, I'm just kidding. No, I did the COVIDs. I tests. I didn't have COVID, but I was so sick. And I was like, I told my wife, Lauren, I was like, why do I get so sick? I've been sick 3 times over the past 3 years. I had COVID one time, but the other times, and it's got really sick. And this weekend I was like, I slept for 24 hours. I was in bed all weekend. I was like, why do I always get so sick? She's like, maybe because you don't eat healthy and you never exercise. I was like, ouch. It's like hit me right to the core. So I want to start doing more of that stuff. So hopefully I don't get as sick. My body is intense. But over the weekend I watched a show. I binged a whole season of And Just Like That. That's what it's called. It's the Sex and the City reboot. And all original cast. And I gotta tell you, I think it broke something inside of me. Like my wiring, because for the first full 2 episodes, I cried my face off. And I couldn't stop. The whole second episode, I was just crying. Like, when you're crying and a good cry and you literally there was one moment and I was just eating nachos, tears going down my face. And I was like, and then something happened. I just went out of nowhere. It was just hit me on another level. So I don't think it's a good show. I don't recommend it, but that's just what happened to me. So we got producer Jesse behind the camera.
What's up? I got a mic this week, so
we got you.
You might hear me chime in. Who knows?
Nice. You won't see him, but he's there. Yeah, producer Jesse, glad you're here. We got Victor coming in today. I got some topics that I want to cover with Victor. Shows. He seems like would be very anti some shows. So maybe we'll talk about that. I want to talk about the preaching feud that's going on. I don't know if you've noticed. It's subtle. But there's some shade going back and forth between the preachers. And I just want to hit it head on. We're going to talk about it. We're going to chat about it right from the beginning. Because we keep short accounts here. So I'm going to see what Victor's take on that is. If he has something that he wants to address. Yeah, it's going to be fun. We'll see what's going to go on here. Thank you guys so much for the feedback and the positive response over the past couple episodes. It's been really great. We didn't know if anyone would watch, but you guys have watched. You've got a comment. And if you're watching this, can you do me a favor? Just hit the like button, comment something, who your favorite guest is, who do you want to be a guest, what do you want us to talk about? Throw a comment in there, and also subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, just as a personal favor to me, if you do those things, it helps us out a lot. It helps get the word out so more people can engage with us. What's up, Victor? Put those on.
What do they call it? The cans?
Put the cans on.
Oh. Are you ready? Yes, I am. They say you a superstar now. Damn, I guess I am. You might be the man unless I am. Okay, I'll confess.
What's on the agenda? What are we We're talking through.
You were supposed to bring topics.
No, this is your job, bro. You're pastor of podcasts. You're supposed to bring the material. I am the guest speaker.
You make my life so hard. You're in the preaching team now.
Yeah.
And there's 4 of you guys, and there seems to be a little bit of some feud going on.
No, you're.
So, well, let's watch
All right,
this.
we'll finish.
Let's watch this clip. And then
I've seen it. I was there for the capture.
I had the privilege of going to the UK a couple weeks ago with like 20 pastors across all of Canada. And you can imagine that this can go one of 2 ways. One is either the best trip or the worst trip, right? They're like, what's your thoughts on eschatology, right? It's just like, oh my gosh, like, come on, relax. But this crew was awesome, okay? We go to dinner, and as we go to dinner, we're all leaving, we're excited, and someone suggests the greatest thing on the planet. They go, let's go get bikes. Come on, right? Like 20 middle-aged people on bikes is the best thing in the planet.
Like 12.
Rolling through central London and something, it just reverts you back to 12-year-old you, right? Everyone's just honking everything for some reason. And as we're going through central London, you want to hit like all of like the spots, right? So you're going to go to like Buckingham Palace and Big Ben and the river, Thames, and the rest of the stuff that you see on the Crown. And so you're going to go to all these spots, right? And we're on these bikes, and like one of your pastors, I'm not going to say his name because that'd be embarrassing, is giggling, right? Like Victor is just giggling so hard.
that
So
laugh?
funny, Mike. Was not giggling.
There was a
at all.
lot of laughter at you.
Thank you.
I
like to think with me.
No. Dude, there was a lot of laughter at you.
You know what? I actually found he was quite gracious in that because there were a lot more stories that were going through my mind as he was setting that story up. And there were things like in that bike ride, I actually tried to drift on a bike ride and totally bailed. And I was the only one that fell off my bike. And I was like, he's for sure using that story. But he's very kind and just saying, I giggled, which is 100% true. Biking's the best. It just brings out the 10-year-old in you. I make no apologies for how I was on that bike.
How do you feel about everyone laughing at you? You okay? Do you want to talk about it?
Are you really trying to milk that one? No, I'm good. I'm happy to be a part of the laughter, be the bit.
Be the joke of the preaching team?
Self-deprecation is like, that's my jam. Like if it gets people laughing, I will, at my expense, I'm totally gold with that. So this is nothing.
How are you going to get back at them?
See where you're going. You want to make a little thing, like a little tribalism, some feud happening in the preaching team. I'm not going there. Unity is the heart of what we're trying to do in the church. And
Michael doesn't. Does he know that?
Maybe not. It's okay. Above reproach.
Well, what do you want to say to him? What would you say to Michael if he was sitting right here in this room?
That I love him, and I'm for him, and he did an incredible sermon.
Well, that's very nice of you.
What do you want me to say to him?
I don't.
Okay. I feel like you're trying to fan a flame here.
No, Victor. I told the people, I said, we're just going to air it out because we don't want there to be things kind of forming within the team. So that's why we created this, is to allow for these conversations to happen. It's like that's happening on stage. This is after the fact.
Right.
That's why you're here. That's why Michael's going to come on
and
to talk about all this stuff.
Right.
And if you're hurt by the giggles, let's talk about it.
No pain.
If you're the bit of every single joke because it's just that easy, let's talk about it. Like, we're not going to let anything fester into something more that could be dangerous.
No, we got tough skin. We're bigger than that.
That's great.
Yeah. A question for you. How many of these podcasts do you think you'll have? How many episodes before you just like call it and just like, why am I doing this?
Oh, we'll never do it. I just want you to hear that we're dedicated to this. You
100.
As the fans.
You'll have like a Carrie Newhoff like episode 458.
We'll definitely probably get shut down eventually, but we will not be the ones that quit.
Shut it down.
No.
You'll keep going.
We will keep going, and we'll find a new platform, you know? Joe Rogan gets kicked off Spotify. He creates his own thing.
Did he get cut?
No.
Oh.
Not yet. But that would happen. Do you think all the preachers have a certain style?
Yes.
Like, okay, what would be everyone's style? So you would be more like...
Yeah, I'd be more like, I think I'd be a little more of a teaching bent. Although the irony is like I introduce myself as a little more of a teacher, I think my first sermon, like,
You're
kind
like,
of
I'm the professor.
Postmark. I'm kind of like this
Professor Victor.
vibe. Like, I'm smart. I know some things. I've been to seminary. Kind of have that vibe. And then I use the whiteboard, the big TV, and start writing things out. And I spell weird wrong.
In a
like a
weird
really
way.
simple
A very
word.
weird way.
I don't know what just threw me. I just write it big and fat for everyone to see. I spell it wrong. Anyways, I think I'm a little more bent that way. To typecast, you know, our preaching team has a wide scope of what they can do and how they present all this stuff. But if I were to typecast, I think Chris is like the beloved one. He is like
He's the shepherd.
Inspiration. He is pastoral. He is gonna get at your heart. That's him. Fanu is high inspiration as well. He is the evangelist. He bleeds Billy Graham. Like,
He's the crusader.
it's call to action. Let's go. I want to get saved again.
Everyone
just being around
gives
him.
their lives to Jesus.
Yeah, everyone. Awesome. And then Michael. Michael is like, I don't know. I can't peg Michael yet. He's like this inquisitive, like, he has like I'd say like an authoritative kind of like proclaimer. He's also really into like philosophy and like how the world works and how it integrates with theology. So he kind of has these interesting angles towards his sermon. I don't know how I would like articulate his thing though. What would you say?
Maybe he's more like classic because he's kind of like more well-rounded,
Yeah, maybe.
where he doesn't really lean one way. He does have some stories and he's he does have some theological depth, but he's kind of, I don't know.
What would you say about Fanu and Chris?
I agree. I'd say you're the teacher, lecturer, Professor Victor. Chris, I think, is very like, his stories are very personal.
Yeah.
He bleeds for people. So they're very relatable. And then Fanu is very crusade, preachy,
Yeah.
fast talker,
Yeah.
one speed.
Storm the gates.
I'm like out of breath when
Right.
Fanu preaches. It's great. Everyone's wonderful. You scared of the future, Victor?
No, I fully embrace it.
Everything?
No. There are things for sure that I'm like, I think this is going to get sketchy.
Like what?
Uh,
AI?
No, I'm not super worried about AI. I think AI will like eliminate pain points for us that there's some really cool stuff that Alphabet, like a company, an off-brand company of Google is doing with like AI actually phoning restaurants and getting reservations for you. And they sound very human and you wouldn't even tell it's AI. And they're like,
Is that AI or just computer?
I don't know the difference. What you're saying? That's AI, because they can go back and forth and have a conversation, pick up on,
Right.
oh, we
Learning.
actually don't have anything that time. Would these times work for you?
Right.
And then they can figure out a different time available for. And so your AI can be like your butler and like pretend like there's an example of potentially like you need to get a better plan at Bell for your cell phone. It's like you're on the line for like 45 minutes waiting, and then you're talking to a guy and he tells you can't do anything. It's like, what if AI actually had that phone call for you and you're driving and just gives you a notification like, I got your plan down $10 and you got more data. And it's like the phone call happened, but you weren't involved in it. So I think those pain points will go away.
And you don't have any reservations?
I embrace that future. I think our grandkids will like laugh at us like, you waited on a lineup for that, or you were on the phone for more than 3 minutes? Like, what? Like, it'd be so foreign.
What about like AI in your brain?
The cyborg stuff?
Yeah.
Like that's all Elon. I don't know. That stuff like okay, so the argument is like we're already cyborgs because we have phones with us, and so we look exactly.
No.
It doesn't really matter if it's on the outside of our body or the inside. It's still a part of us.
We literally can't have a conversation without recording it. We need mics and headphones and cameras.
That's true.
I never talk to you. I say, you come up to me at my desk and I say, save it for the podcast. Save it for the, no.
I just had a question about work, but like,
no,
don't want to hear it.
I can't,
save it for the podcast.
I can't do those reports right now.
Yeah.
Save it for the podcast.
Right. Exactly.
And I love it.
Right. So that future I'm all for. If I can get rid of like things that are killing time and I can spend time on the things that actually matter, 100%.
Have you seen the show Upload?
Yeah. The first season is okay.
But what?
The afterlife thing?
You wanna
I think
upload?
That's a joke. No. I think there's some stuff that are trivial and they're just taking it too far and it won't ever happen. Like flying cars. Like flying cars will never happen. There's no future. Why would you want to be in a flying car?
What about hovering cars?
But exactly, what's the utility? Like, what's the
Faster,
Are they
no drag.
the? But like, the upkeep, the
A car
potential
could park
accidents that
in-
happen.
Could park in a second floor.
Why would you choose something that's more unsafe for the sake of just having it?
Then
Like,
why would we drive cars? Why wouldn't we just ride horses?
I don't know, Zach. They're faster.
Right.
Yeah, you can put
Flying
more
cars
people.
are faster.
No, they, the ratio of, or the comparison of like safety versus speed is. What are we talking about? Let's change subjects. This is irrelevant.
AI.
AI is a win. I think AI is a win. I think Metaverse is scary. I think that's going to be a
Why
weird
is that
place.
more scary than AI?
Because AI is well, it depends. AI has so many places of utility. It can,
Sure.
but like
You don't
the
think
Metaverse
does?
is a psychological experiment, I think, of just you plugging into a whole new world and what your true reality is and what that does to your brain. And I think even us being on smartphones and social media, there is still that disconnect of like, we understand we're looking at a screen, we're still in a world, we're still engaging with people. Wow. When you're fully submerged in a new world,
You could
and
just
it plays
live in
to
there.
your rules, it plays to what you want, you can be whoever you want.
You don't think
there
that's
really
healthy?
is no limitations. I think there's a forgotten like theology of limitations that are actually really helpful and good for our holistic living. Like God as creatures in his created order put limits on us, and those are all really good limits for human thriving.
Right.
And so we try and push against those limits often, and we don't want any limits. We want to be like God. And I'm not saying if you join the metaverse, you're sinning, but I'm just saying it's kind of these clues in our sinful wiring of like,
Don't you think people thought this when the internet came out? Don't you think people thought this when we got drums in the worship?
no,
Right.
I think a little apples to oranges. I would say yes to like internet for sure. There's even articles on when the publishing, when like people would sit down and read a magazine over the fire, and it'd be like the article is written almost identical of like the concern of like, oh, these people are reading recreational material, blah, 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 blah. The language is almost the same language as how we critique social media now. So it's like this wave of like when magazines and
Right.
I don't know the language of like,
Radio. When the radio came out,
yes.
people were like, oh, kids aren't going to go outside anymore.
right, they're
just
gonna be
gonna
stuck
listen
to this
the
radio and listen to whatever. Like, so yeah, I think there's always like an immediate concern, and then we become seasoned in our critiquing and like, oh, what actually is good and right and meaningful, and what can we salvage, what can we push against and caution.
But what critique is there for the radio now?
None.
So don't you
So
think it's cultural?
I just think, I think you could say this is just another version of that, and this is obviously speculation. I think the metaverse is that on steroids. I think there will be, you can argue social media is neutral where it can be good or bad. I think today it has more of a negative connotation than positive for just our well-being as human beings. I think the metaverse will be a more like drastic version of that. There will be more negative than positive
Right.
day one and ongoing. I think we forget how we're wired, and we push those limits of like, this is a pseudo version of community. This is a pseudo version of what it means to, like, there are things you can't replace. There's things you can't substitute that we think we can. And I think the metaverse is an experiment in that.
I think a lot of it is cultural because, like the radio, because now people say, I was talking to a friend, and you'll say, oh, I asked him, I was talking to him. And you can mean in person, phone call, texting, email. And you'd say the same thing for all those
Yep.
forms of communication.
So language and verbiage and stuff for how we do those things may be the same, but what we're actually doing is different.
Yeah, but we don't consider it any different.
Well, I think we do. We just use the same language for all those things. Like texting is different than an in-person coffee.
Right, but it's normative to say my relationship with
agree.
you is deeper because we text and communicate.
Than nothing. Yes.
And so it becomes very normative for us. I think
I agree.
we're gonna use metaverse stuff exact same. There's be no. Do you think we'll notice it negatively, or we'll still embrace it? Or do you think like the general population be like, no, this is bad. We have to like, this is harmful. Or do you think it'll just like sink us into demise?
I think with many things, like we
this
do
the
social experiments and we ethics follow later. And so like pornography is a great example of like, we did this massive social experiment. It's like pornography makes more than like NBA, I don't know, the baseball and football, all the major leagues combined.
sports.
It's like, it's a huge revenue stream. And so we went nuts with pornography, offered anywhere, anyhow. It's accessible, everything. Christian and secular now are retracting and being like, actually, this is becoming quite harmful to people's well-being, their own sexuality, their own sexual relationships.
Do you think they are retracting?
I think
Or
there
you
are
just subscribe to enough like Christian media,
undercover Christian media. Yeah, the majority of people would disagree with that, but I would say there is a growing minority that sees pornography as problematic for holistic living.
I agree with that, but I always try to check myself: is that what I just
Do
want?
I just see it has a slice of the pie?
Do I just want to believe that?
Right.
Because I think also like there's certain subscription companies now, like OnlyFans, where it's like now, okay, what are the negative? It's like, oh, well, it's corporatized.
Right.
And so the individual now, okay, how can we do like politically correct pornography? And now it's like direct to content. So it's like it's not the actual thing, it's like the social construct behind it. So now you can make your own and get paid directly for it.
Right.
And now that's great.
It's this
and
empowering piece, whatever.
So
I agree with like, but I think it's just, it's constant shifting with the same problem. And the underlying issue is, I think, is quite objective of like, there is something across the board under every type of culture of what it means to be a human, and like 10 commandments, like to live in shalom peace, to live like, don't go after other gods, don't like whatever, honor your parents. All these things are like, this is how you are wired, that surpasses any type of culture, just human being made in the image of God. And so I would say that's true of like community, socializing, being known and knowing others, that I think the metaverse and things like the metaverse aren't gonna play well with. I think it's building a pseudo utopia of I can be whoever I want to be. Yet I think a constant theme in scripture of like of people constantly pushing up against of God saying, no, you're not wired. Right back to the beginning of like eating the fruit. It's like you're not meant to be that and want that. It's like you're actually meant to be dependent on me and meant to be in sync and rhythm and in relationship with me. And that's what it means to be a creature in my created order. And I think we always push up against that. The Tower of Babel, and not that metaverse is the Tower of Babel, but I think it's another
But I think
clue.
There's also a redeeming quality about those things, because I think it's actually our urge to achieve something better is the reason that actually drives us for it. Even like look at pornography. It's like, well, guess what? God created sex. Sex is a good thing in this context.
Right.
And we're driving for, well, we want more of it in a bad way.
Right.
100% not good.
Just keep giving disclaimers.
Clip that.
Have like a bunch of
Make sure. But I think one reason for the drive for metaverse is we want more productivity. We want more connection. We want more abilities to imagine. I think all three of those in and of itself are great God-honoring things that God actually says, well, I actually instilled this, and guess what? There's a better way of community. And we say, what if we could access anyone all the time in different environments? Hey, that actually would be better.
Right.
And I think they're all pointers to something. And there'll probably always be a tension of it's a good thing with good heart, but it's happening in a bad way. And there's ways to do it better or worse.
Right.
But it's like, hey, is a phone call inherently bad, you'd say, no, it's not inherently bad. You're probably like, it's actually generally positive. Obviously, you can't see the person and maybe you lose some things, but we've learned to do it pretty well. Phone calls, like, really good. Social media, where, I don't know, you said you think it's probably more negative than positive right now?
Yeah, I think just like read what the Twitter trending things are.
Right.
Like read what, like obviously you can always argue positivity of like, well, those are helpful news bits.
Sure.
Like those keep me informed, or I feel like I can know what's going on in the world, or I can actually contribute to what's going on in the world. But like I agree. I'm not saying Metaverse, these things like as the new phone call.
Yeah.
It's like, I just think sometimes we move so fast that this can now replace anything else. And it's like, I think the data is showing that like a younger generation doesn't know how to have a dating life, doesn't know how to like, are struggling to have like meaningful sexual relationships. It's
Or
like,
do you just disagree with it?
what do you mean?
Because I don't know what they say. It's like people are still finding dates, going on dates and finding relationships.
Yeah, I think all that is true still. I'm just saying some of these things can contribute to that.
Yeah. Producer Jesse, what do you think?
I can't wait to get a chip in my head and just, be on autopilot.
Nice.
He's all for it.
Dude, making content's gonna be so much easier when I can just hit record.
Right.
And just like,
Well, just imagine like I can just hit like autopilot and like I need to edit this podcast for like an hour
You shut off.
and I just shut off and I
And
just
it's
go on
done.
autopilot and
That's
like I
beautiful.
don't have to experience it, right?
Let
I just
the
get
AI
the-
kick in.
Yeah, the AI take over, like go on autopilot and then boom, I'm done and I just do the fun part.
have you seen
That's a future I can look forward to. I'm with Jesse. I changed everything I've just said. He's won me over. All the boring work, I just want my AI to do it.
have you seen it's on Apple TV, Severance?
I saw pieces of it.
So the
It got dry
concept
pretty
is
quick.
basically they like sever your memory. And so when you go into this one place, work, you become this one person, or like you forget all your other life. And then when you leave, you forget that and you just become
Right.
this. So it's basically like you're like two people.
versions of yourself.
And it's like every time you wake up, you're coming into work and then you live your whole life at work. And they call them innies and outies.
Yes.
And so like your innie hates your life because all they are is work.
Work.
But your outie is like,
Loving it.
"Wee,"
Yeah,
like
totally.
never have to work.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I just zone out for 8 hours and then wake up and it's like, awesome, I get to live
Right.
my life.
Would you do it? How much do you love your job?
I hate being a pastor.
I'll be the first in line. Put
Every
the
time
chip
I
in.
have a meeting, I wish I could just sev you out of there.
Want to be an Audi.
Get my
Dude, the Audi
Audi
life.
out of here.
So it's a yes. A little weird.
It almost seems like the thing becomes your innie is like a slave, and it's like they try to spin it, but
It's you. That's the
Yeah.
the tension. It's like you're the slave.
yeah, it would. Well, the thing is though, if you sever 50-50, you become the innie. Like,
Right.
You're like, oh, am I gonna become the innie or the
Right.
outie? But actually, you are the outie because your memories are like, I get to continue.
Right.
It's like messing.
cool idea.
It messes with your brain about like cloning.
Right.
Like, are you the clone or are you the real
Real
one?
person.
If you literally had your memory up until the exact second of cloning, you wouldn't know.
Right.
And especially if
You never know.
if you're the clone or you're the real one.
You think cloning will be in our lifetime?
Well, there are
Humans?
clones.
There's like cloning sheep and all this stuff, but
There's like conspiracy theories that like
people are out there.
they're clones,
Yeah, I
like
believe it.
artists.
Avril Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne.
She's a clone.
This is actually like a.
You
there's-
heard that?
No.
There's like a lot of like clips and conspiracy theory type content out there of like they'll show pictures of Avril Lavigne and the way she sounded, the way she talked,
Whoa.
and then because like she went on like a hiatus for a long time, right? Like
Right.
you heard that she was
Yeah.
sick, and like and then they'll show pictures of her now, and they're like, her face looks different, and like her voice is way different, like the way she talks, and like she used to be one way and now she's kind of this way, and like people like think that like, oh,
She's a clone.
She died.
she didn't conform to like, you know, what they wanted of her, and then or
They
you know,
killed her and then
yeah,
they
they replaced
interesting.
her, or they like, you know, they changed her, or I don't know. So there's just like there's conspiracy.
I've heard that because like it's all about the corporations, or like, oh, this is a money making person.
I get it.
So we have to like, let's just get them top efficiency
Yeah.
money making.
Right.
And so either they die or we kill them. I don't know.
I believe it.
You believe it?
I believe it. I'm in. I'm locked in.
I'm always. Are there any conspiracy?
Yeah, I was about
theories?
to ask, what's the thing that you'd be embarrassed to say, but you
So
kind of
you're also the kind of guy who doesn't think we got to the moon. That's
No,
what you're
not
saying.
at all. I believe.
I honestly, most conspiracy theories involve some higher corporation, and like my biblical view actually like just doesn't allow me to believe that any higher organization controls anything, because I just believe that we're all individuals that are so dumb and so stupid and so flawed.
Like
So
Pastor.
for any amount of people to come together and like be in charge in some way to like keep these people in the dark is impossible, because
right,
there's just no one's smart enough to do that.
right.
It's just a guy. You think a guy in a suit is like, I control the world or I control this thing. It's like, no, you're
Or
an
even
i-
like an underground clan or whatever.
yeah, you're
Some
you're
cult.
just trying to find purpose in your life and like manage your relationship with your wife. She's mad at you and like you weren't
Right.
home enough and you're like, oh, my life. It's like that's your
take on the
I
world.
can't get any of those, but I do believe in lizard people.
Underground?
No,
Bro, no, let's go there.
who's the queen's a lizard, right?
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah, 100%. No one lives that long. I'm a Mormon up to the idea of aliens. At first, it's
Well-
like, no, there's zero chance.
Well, technically, there is
There's like
aliens.
bacteria on Mars. or
Right,
whatever.
there's
Yeah,
bacteria on Mars, so it's like no, there's life outside of our thing. So it's like there's aliens. Like it's just if there's intelligent life.
Yeah. Right.
Would that wreck your
theology?
Yeah.
It has a ripple effect. Like Jesus came to this planet to save these people.
What if he had another
Like,
side
he had to
hustle,
go-
side hustle planet?
Like, what if they sinned?
Couldn't there be?
Like a double
What if
crucifixion.
there's another Bible?
We're getting to some dicey territory. Written, I guess so, because it's historically bound. Like it was
Right.
written
It's like
by people on this planet.
this other world theological Bible doesn't contradict this Bible, but it has these
Right.
historical ideas and stories,
Right.
And they completely different, but still like
But
point to the
same
same
universal
God.
truths and revelation about who God is.
Right.
and from a
Maybe
different
that
angle.
Jesus hasn't come to that planet yet. They're still living the
There's-
Old
there-
Testament.
It could be a new Bible coming out.
Right. They only have the Old Testament Bible yet. Jesus can't come.
Let's stop there. Let's not go-
If you're mad at us, send
Right.
your emails to victor@thisisvillagechurch.com and
or
he'll
comment below and right heresy.
cancel us.
Cancel.
This is what it's about, though. See, we need a safe space to have those, because maybe you've had those thoughts. You're like,
It's okay.
we talk
among
about
good
it.
people.
That's the benefit of the tiny podium.
Right.
You won't get this type of content on the big podium.
It's true. We
This
wouldn't
is-
say that from the stage. You're right. There might be an alien Bible to come. See how that lands
And
on
try and
stage.
incorporate that in your next sermon.
No,
Alien Bible.
I don't need those emails.
See, you are afraid of emails.
Do you think that's the stuff that like God, the pearly gates, when he just kind of goes through the list?
He's like,
Do you think he'll be
"Oh."
like, whatever, you're joking. I got it.
He's
Or
like-
if he's like, no, it came out of your mouth.
He's like, come here.
Come here, boy.
Come here. No, come sit down. Papa Squab right here. All right, let's take a look at this. What we got here.
It would be like a TikTok.
You're a pastor. It's fine. That's fine. You got married. Yeah, you did pretty good with that. Got some kids. Yeah, they weren't messed up.
What
June,
was this?
June 2nd. We got to talk about this.
We gotta get it
to-
out. We gotta get it out.
2 Bibles.
What do we?
Maybe there's a new Bible to come. Maybe there's a new Bible to come. Right here. Watch it. No, don't look away.
Do you know how hard it's to preserve that thing that I gave you guys?
You led children astray.
Let me show you the Bible, the one Bible verse for that.
Sometimes God might use you for something that you don't know the full extent of why it's being used.
Right.
And that's sometimes we need to be obedient, and we won't get to experience the full extent of and the reward of our obedience.
Right.
We just have to be obedient.
Yeah.
And then God will use the reward for whoever he wants to use the reward for, if nothing else, his own glory. And, I think that's one of the biggest things that doesn't resonate with us.
Right.
If we win the race, we want to get the prize.
Give us the prize, baby.
But sometimes we're going to run the race and we don't know if we won or lost.
Totally.
But the only thing God asked you to do was just run the race. And that is your reward.
Well, you and me went to London, and a little clip there, me getting made fun of, which I appreciate. We went to, what's his face? Wesley's house.
John
This is
Wesley's
a guy
house.
who had huge impact in his lifetime,
Yeah.
but it wasn't really until after he died that the half of UK became Methodist. And so it's like he would have never known the impact he had, and he would have never known like where his work would go and all this stuff. So it's like, it's the whole classic idea of like, even when you want to see someone come to know Christ, it's like you're a chain in the link, whether you're the beginning or the end, or you're the one who waters and you see the sprout or you see the fruit of it. It's like, you don't know where you are in it. It's just, you got to be obedient to what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's
why your identity can't be in the thing you're doing.
The payoff or the goal or the...
Because if your identity's in the thing, then you're going to be disappointed every single time. You're going to be not enough every single time.
Yeah.
But if your identity's in Jesus, then it doesn't really matter what you're doing.
Like, who are the youth pastors of like the most famous preachers today?
Right.
Nobody knows them.
Right.
But they were the ones who encouraged them, spoke, empowered these, and then set them on the course to be, gave them opportunity to be, some of the loudest and most profound preachers in our day. It's like, nobody knows those people.
And there probably was maybe different moments of youth leaders.
Yeah.
Youth leaders.
Totally.
Right? That were saying,
Just showed up after work, hung out, shared pizza,
and
changed
said,
it.
hey, you should go for it.
Yeah.
And even the words and what they did, that preacher might not even remember it, but it set them on a course to pursue Jesus, follow him, follow the calling. And who knows what happened to those people.
Yeah, I think we think a lot about always like ROI, return on investment. It's like, what am I going to get out of spending time with this young person, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I think that's where the leading of the Holy Spirit comes, is like, you have no idea what God's up to, and you have no idea what could come out of this and what kind of fruit and the kind of this upside down kingdom economy. And it's like, you just got to be obedient to what you feel God's calling you to do in that day, in that moment. It doesn't really matter what comes out of it. Yeah. And that should be, in a sense, freeing.
Yeah, 100%.
Of like, I don't have to get these crazy results to show my worth in the kingdom. I just gotta be obedient and faithful to what's in front of me.
Right. All right.
This was good.
Any plugs? You want to leave people
plugs? Hey, follow me on blah blah. No, I don't even know my handle. I think it's at Victor Paul. Don't follow me. I don't post much. But
what about Surrey stuff or village stuff? You want to plug anything? Talk about anything we're doing?
Yeah, I don't know when this is being posted. So we got a couple events coming down the line. I don't know if it will be posted.
No, I don't think I'll make any of that.
Yeah, we got a couple of summer events we're really excited about.
Events.
It's all missional oriented. None of these events are for you. You should be inviting people to it. We're seeing a lot of really cool things at Surrey. There's a lot of like even the worship, everything is just electric. Like, there's something happening there, and my heart is like, I just want more people exposed to this, because people are being transformed. And so right now our focus is just like, let's open the gates as wide as possible, be ridiculous in our missional intent, and reach out to our friends and family. So we're trying to think of a couple initiatives and events that make it really easy to do that, and that'll be kind of the focus over the summer.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for joining, man.
This is a pleasure, Zach.
We'll have you back. You'll come back.
That's good.
Thanks for joining.
Fist bump cut.